Hello YouTube. In this video I'd like to show you a piece of Chinese tech that I thought was pretty incredible. Now what this is right here is it's a cigarette lighter splitter with a inverter built in. And it says right here that has voice alerts and three sockets, so not the best translation right there. 7 USB with 4 of them being QuickCharge and 4 cigarette lighter connections. So this is a cigarette lighter splitter with an inverter, and you can see you can get different options, and apparently they have a US plug option or universal, and this one came with the Chinese plug. But I found this on Amazon for about $16, and I just wanted a good quality cigarette lighter splitter because my other ones slip out of the socket very easily here in the off-grid shed because I use both 120 and 12 volt power. So you can see there's the specifications for the model that I ordered, and it says it's pure sine wave. For the inverter, it says it's 220 volts, which here in North America the standard is 120, but I'm fine with it being 220 because, first of all, most switch mode chargers can take either 120 or 220, and I thought it'd be nice to have a power supply that could supply 220 devices. And also, the main thing that I really wanted was to have a better cigarette lighter splitter, so the inverter is just extra. And for this price, most of the cigarette lighter splitters without an inverter were more expensive than this unit. It says it's 200 watts, and it has a Chinese brand name. I don't know if anyone can translate that. If you can, please put that in the comments. But inside the package, you can see there's the inverter itself, and it also comes with an instruction manual and some extra fuses, which the instruction manual mostly has the specifications of each model, so it has it in English and in Chinese. And it comes with the cable. So if we unwrap this cable like this, and there it is. I got a socket right here, cigarette lighter like one you find in a car, for 12 volt electricity. This product says it can take 24 volt electricity too, but I have not tested that, and I probably won't be testing it because I don't want to try to push this thing too much, and I don't really have a source of 24 volt electricity out here in the shed because I have 12 volt power. So here's 4 of the USBs, 3 more. One of them's a power delivery, and these, all the orange ones, are QuickCharge. Here's your cigarette lighters, and then here's the power sockets, the AC outlets. So if I plug this in, you can see if I hit the button, the voltmeter turns on. And I've turned the unit on. So I'd like to start off here with the USB feature on this device. So these 2 USB ports are on even if the device, the inverter, is switched off. So I have this iPhone here. If I plug it in, it starts charging. But this thing is advertised to have Qualcomm QuickCharge, which is pretty uncommon in a very low priced device like this. So I have this Android, and I've got its cord here. If I plug it into the bottom, because these are both QuickCharge, and I look at the screen, it says turbo power connected, which means it is now quick charging, which is pretty incredible. I didn't really expect this quick charging to work, but it works, and it works perfectly. Now there are also USB ports here on the side, but in order to use them you have to turn on the inverter. And you could hear the little voice prompt there. It's only in Chinese, you can't change it. I can plug this into the side, and it says it's turbo power charging, and I can plug the other phone into one of the side ports, and it says it's charging, but if I turn off the inverter, it's no longer charging. Now, like the USB ports, the 12-volt ports right here on the front do not require you to flip on the switch. They're already active. So if I plug in this cell phone, you can see it's charging, but that's no problem. A cell phone uses very little power. So we also got this little heater, which is supposed to use 150 watts. So if I plug it in, right there, you can see the lights on it. There's multiple modes. I switch it to fan. It runs perfectly. And I can switch it on heater. And it's running, and it's starting to heat up. So the 12-volt sockets work perfectly on this device. So I'd like to show you the inverter functionality now. So it has these two outlets, and both of them can accept a Chinese 3-pin plug. And I don't have a Chinese 3-pin plug, but it can also accept a US 2-pin plug, a non-polarized plug, or a flat European plug, or even a large European plug. Now, it does not accept a polarized US plug, and it also does not accept a 3-prong US plug, this is kind of a feature that I wish this had. I wish that it would be able to accept, like if they just put a hole there, it could accept the 3-prong US plugs, and if they just made one of these slots a little wider, it could accept a polarized US plug. So that's one of the downsides of this, is it cannot accept all the types of US plugs. But this is made for a Chinese market, where they usually use either the Chinese plug or European plugs, and sometimes the flat US plug. So if you want to plug in things with polarized plugs, you need an adapter like this, which can now accept this polarized plug, or can even accept the grounded plug right here. Now you might notice that that ground isn't connected anywhere, which is considered unsafe in most circumstances. However, the ground built into this prong is not connected anywhere either, and because the inverter output is isolated, it doesn't really matter that much. Even if there's a fault and you touch a hot wire, it won't shock you. So you'd have to touch 2 hot wires in order to get a shock. Now, to turn on the inverter, there's this little switch, which is just a tap, and The only language that the reminders are in is Chinese. It says 220 volts, and then it switches to the battery voltage or the 12 volt system voltage. That 220 volts is just a on indicator. It really doesn't show the actual voltage on the sockets. So I have this voltmeter here, and I'll switch it to AC volts and stick these probes in the socket, and it says 233 volts. So it is putting out the right voltage. And if I change the meter here to frequency, this should be 50 Hertz. Now, right now I'm picking up random frequencies that these wires are just picking up because they kind of act as an antenna. But if I check the line frequency on this inverter right here, I set that right there, 50.19 Hertz. So it's fairly accurate. Now, it wouldn't be very good for really sensitive devices like electronic clocks that use the line frequency, but like a turntable or a cassette player that uses 50 Hertz, it's not going to sound either too slow or too fast. That 0.1 Hertz is not a huge problem for most devices. So let's see what we can power off it. I got this iPhone. It's connected to this plug. I plug it in. It starts charging. Now, even though this is a US plug, it is rated for dual voltage. I can also get this phone here, which I have connected to this European plug, and it says it's charging. And I also have this LED light, and if I plug it in, this is dual voltage. It's lighting up. Now I'd like to do a couple more high power tests with this inverter. So I have the laptop right here, and I have a charger for it, and this says it consumes 60 watts to charge the laptop. And I've plugged it in, and this light right here says that it's charging. And if I tap it a few times, says right here, try to zoom in. Well, the charging light is on, and it says right there that it is charging the laptop. Now, that's a pretty easy load on a 200 watt inverter, just charging a laptop. So I have another load, which I have to use the adapter for again, and it's these two 60 watt bulbs. Now, these are 120 volt bulbs, so running them directly would burn them out, but I have them connected in series. Now, I wouldn't really recommend this as a method to run devices, especially non-resistive devices, and you can only do this with resistive loads, and they have to be equal. So I have to use two 60 watt bulbs, and if I plug them in, this is a total of 120 watts, and it is running just fine at full brightness on the inverter. The inverter does have a fan in it, which is actually very quiet, and it is thermally controlled, so it will automatically turn on and off depending on how hot it gets inside. So that's nice because it doesn't make a lot of noise when it's running. It also saves electricity because with less fan usage, it's not using as much electricity to run that fan. Now this only uses about 0.2 amps of standby current when the inverter is on, and it uses only about 10 milliamps with the inverter off. So it is pretty efficient, and it doesn't use that much standby current. So it's great for an off-grid application like what I'm using it for. So, would I recommend this inverter? Well, it depends on what you're using it for. If you want to run 120 appliances and use it as a inverter in North America, then I definitely would not recommend it, because it puts out 220 volts and you cannot run 120 devices without a step-down transformer. But as a cigarette lighter splitter and a 220 inverter, I think it's a great inverter, and it's lived up to all the claims that it advertised, which I was actually pretty surprised with, considering how cheap it was. So I'll post a link in the video description if you're interested in it, and please leave any comments, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.